Good day, everyone. It's me again, Sir Aaron Francisco Nicole, and welcome to a new session under Unit 1 Self Development. Today, I will be discussing the aspects of development, the foundations of our personality. When you are planning or designing a personal development plan, you have to look at all 6 areas of personal development and make sure that you are working on them. So these will make sure that the 6 primary areas of your life are seeing improvements as you go on in your journey. Knowing what these entail makes it easier to ensure that you are properly attending to them. You can focus on one at a time, or you can work on all of them simultaneously, depending on your preference. So it is possible to work on more than one of these at a time. When you're working on these areas of personal development, make sure that your personal development plan has the detailed steps and goals incorporated. So this makes sure that you can get done what is necessary without any issues. It also allows you to make any necessary adjustments along the way to ensure success. Okay, so there are 6 main aspects of development that we should always take into consideration. No? Okay, so let's start. What are those aspects of development? So the first aspect of development is, of course, the mental aspect. So this refers to one's intellectual capacity, how a person talks, the range of his ideas, the things he talks about, and the values he manifests. In other words, mental aspect is responsible for all the cognition that happens in our mind. How we perceive things, how we react to every situation that we are into, how we relate with other people, how we grasp ideas or information based on the environment, the depth of our ideas and how we generate them. So that is mental aspect. Our mental aspect or our mental development will greatly affect our relationships, our career, and our education. Because it allows you a much better capacity for learning and knowing when to alter your reactions about this. No? So when you have a good mental aspect, you are able to adjust to whatever circumstances that you might be into. And you were able to control the emotions or the reactions that you have in a particular situation. Now, how can we develop our mental aspect? Of course, developing our mental aspect is always influenced by these 2 factors: the environment, of course, and of course, heredity. The environment, the kind of environment that you are in will probably determine or greatly influence your mental capacity. If you are in an environment that is very stimulating of good ideas, of good attitude, of good mental development, then of course it will be expected that your mental capacity or your mental aspect will somehow develop beautifully. On the other hand, if you are exposed to an environment that is depriving, of good ideas, of good relationships, it's not stimulating of developing good mental aspect, then you will be deprived of developing a good mental aspect. The second factor that influences our mental aspect is, of course, heredity. Heredity cannot be altered. Whatever is naturally given during birth, it cannot be altered. It cannot be altered by science because it is fixed. If you are mentally incapacitated at birth, of course, that cannot be altered. So for example, there is an abnormality of your in your mind. Let's say you are having a Down syndrome, or you are a Down syndrome person. Of course, that could greatly affect your mental aspect. And mental aspect depends upon the intelligence of a person. Okay, but intelligence Every one of us has our own genetic makeup of intelligence, but how to develop it is influenced already with the environment. No, the better the education, the better the personality. Of course, if you are given much privilege in education, no, by your parents, for example, the nutrition, the proper nutrition, the gadgets, the support, the materials, of course, you will be expected to develop your personality or particularly your mental aspect good. No, so those are the things that is explained on our mental aspect. The next aspect is emotional aspect. So emotional aspect is a person's emotional makeup is shown in his likes and dislikes. All humans are emotional beings. No, we tend to react on different situations. We tend to be happy, we tend to be disappointed, we tend to be jealous, we tend to be resented, no, we tend to be joyful. All those emotions that we feel in every situation. Being an emotionally strong person will serve you well in all areas of your life. What does it mean? Does it really mean that you will be overacting on in a certain situation? No, of course. Emotionally strong means that you are able to control your emotions when you are in a circumstance. For example, you are experiencing problems. You know, how you deal with problem, is influenced, of course, with your emotional aspect. If you are brave enough to control your emotions or to control your outburst of that problem, of course, you are expected to have a good emotional aspect. No? How we can actually determine or how can we have a better foundation of emotional aspect? So the role of games and free play contribute in the development of the child's emotional aspect. So it is very important that as young as the child or the person is, he or she must be exposed to games and free play. Why? Because on that stage of our life, we are building or we are able to experience the primary foundations of emotion. No, we tend to be interdependent. No, we tend to have our dependence, towards people around us. Okay, so that is why it is very important that children, or if you have a younger sibling, you must allow them to play because the substantiated values are being learned. For example, how they react to every situation that they are into during play, how they manifest their emotions, how they express their feelings when they are in their playmate, it will really greatly affect them. However, if the child, of course, is in play or in free play or in games, there must be a proper monitoring of the adults. No, you must not allow the child to be left out or to be left alone when they are playing. Of course, you as an adult, you have to guide them properly. That's why, so that the child will be properly guided in his or her emotional aspect. No? Okay, so this is a more difficult area of development, the emotional aspect, because how you react to things emotionally is not something that you can easily change. Of course, reacting to a certain problem or circumstance is not something that we can alter every time. On a particular problem, perhaps you are brave because it is very easy to handle. However, on some point, there will be a time that you are having a difficulty of coping to it. Sometimes you are having emotional outbursts. That feeling that you are overburdened on that problem. So it is something that cannot actually we say that it's our coping mechanism is fixed, because it is sometimes altering. No? However, we have to remember that we can change this and that we can do better when it comes to not allowing your emotions to control you. Of course, good emotional aspect, no, showing a good emotional aspect. We must always remember, no, or put in our mind that our emotions must not control us as a person. Now, why? Because there will be a time that you will be having a very bad decision to make. No, when you let your emotions control you, sometimes relationships are compromised. No, sometimes our own self is compromised. Other people may get hurt because of our emotions or our emotional outbursts. So that is why we as person, we as humans, we have to make sure that we are taking control of our emotions. We tend or we have this good coping mechanism on how we express our emotions in a certain way. No, once we were able to control our emotions, this will take time, and of course, it is something that you should work on gradually so that you do not leave yourself exhausted and overwhelmed with the process. Of course, as I have said in a previous lesson, no, developing ourselves, especially in a particular aspect or emotional aspect, it is not something that can be learned overnight. No, it is not something that can be memorized. It is not something that can be saved in our inbox and use it when it is necessary or needed. No, it is emotional aspect and all other aspects are something that needs to develop over time, no, or sometimes in a lifetime, no, because it takes so many experiences for it to develop well. That is why we have to keep track of our progress. No, one way of keeping track of our progress is through journal. Some people are really into journal making. No, they tend to write their experiences on a certain day. They tend to write or to put on their books or notebook or diary the important lessons that they have gathered in every day. So that is one way of tracking down how we improved every day in terms of our aspects, especially in our emotional aspect. The third aspect of personal development is what we refer to as social aspect. All living organisms are social beings in nature. No, we really have this tendency of maintaining and building relationships with different organisms. This is seen how well a person relates with other people and observes the rules set by the society. It is true that the kind of society that a person is in determines the behavior. It somehow, in one way or another, affects the behavior of a person or a particular group of person. The beliefs of the society, the set of rules by the society, the policies, how the people relate on a specific situation, no, it is determined by the society itself. Many of us are stimulating, or I mean, building different types of relationships. Of course, for example, friendship, partnership, and family. No, so but how do we usually build social aspect? Of course, the very important tool there is communication. Through communication, we were able to address our concern. We were able to relay the message that we wanted to share to people. No, and in communication, we have to use or we have to have a grounding rule for us to understand each other, and language comes in. But there are so many ways of expressing language. Sometimes it's not always the oral language that is used, no? So we have many languages in expressing our sentiments, our opinions to other people. So you need to be able to effectively communicate with all kinds of people to be socially successful. Of course, communication always play a very big role in developing our social aspect. We have to have a good communication skills, of course, but on how? Of course, there are so many ways on how we develop our communication skills. First is through reading, of course. We have to practice reading. We have to have a good value of reading. Next is, of course, watching movies or TV series that is very helpful in developing our communication skills. And of course, practicing the language that we are used to. No, so those are the ways on how we can develop our communication skills and at the same time our social aspect. But come to think of it, the very big factor that influences the development of our social aspect is of course the family. No, because we all believe that family is the basic unit of the society. No, it is true because the foundations of the values and the attitudes of a person is predetermined in the kind of the family that he or she has. No? So it is being said also that the family is a social laboratory for a growing person. Why social laboratory? Because the family serves a laboratory wherein everyone who is in that family is being experimented. So the experimentation takes the relationship of the parents, no, the relationship of the siblings towards the parent, the norms of the family members, the way of understanding the family members, no, from the problem that they are encountering. So whatever their experiment, no, so whatever the result of the experiment, it will be the predeterminant of the kind of social interactions each family member has. So it is very important that if we build our own family, yes, problems are inevitable, no, inevitable. They cannot be really prevented or avoided because it is always there. But we have to have a good mindset that whatever circumstances may we be in, no, we have to make sure that we are still developing our family in a holistic way. No? And social attitudes and behavior are affected by the physiological conditions and changes, mental alertness and emotional maturity. Of course, these physiological conditions really also contribute or affect our social aspect. No? The way we perceive things, of course, on the kind of words we say, the kind of words we utter, the kinds of ideas we share to people, no? And of course, how we grasp the depth of ideas that we perceive on the environment or in the environment, and of course our emotional maturity also. But maturity in a sense that we were able to adjust to different situations, we were able to control our outbursts in times of crisis or in times of problems, no? So that's why. So start talking to people you do not normally talk to and take advantage of exploring modes of communication that you normally do not use. So why? It is very important that we must try to explore new things. No? Do not settle for less. Do not settle for mere fact that you limit yourself in meeting new people. Because in that way, you are depriving yourself to grow and develop as a person. So that is why we must always consider that we are not living by our own self. No, as social beings, we have to associate ourselves to other people. Of course, with proper guidance and of course with much self-control. No, we have to have a good relationship to other people because no man is an island. No, so there are things that really actually matter or influences our social aspect: the family, the environment, no, the kind of people we relate to, the kind of views we have, no, in politics, etc., etc. So there are main three factors which affect the development of our social aspect. First is of course a socioeconomic status. If the family has the ability to, of course, provide the basic necessities to the person or the child or the family, of course, it is expected that the social aspect of that individual will be more likely to be beautiful. On the other hand, on the other part of view, the more wealthy a family is, the more they are inclined to social interactions. The more that they have friends, the more that they will be able to meet new people, etc., etc. However, if the family is, let's say, financially incapacitated, they will have this tendency of not having more friends to contact to because they might be ashamed. But of course, this is not the general idea. It is the idea. I mean, this is somehow true to some people, but not. This is not a general idea, no? The socioeconomic status. Of course, the second factor is the level of maturity. So maturity in a sense that they are a person is developing his or her physiological, elements, but it is very dependent on the kind of the environment that he or she is in. If the environment does not suit to the level of his maturity, so the level of maturity will not be that high. No, the third factor is the family cultural background. Of course, each family is different from each other. No, we have our own set of rules as a family. We differ from many aspects of life. No, we differ in many ways in how to raise a child. No one can actually say that it's the perfect way of rearing or caring for a child or a member of the family, no, because it differentiates in it or it differs in a very in different context or setting, no. Filipino family is different from other foreign families, no. Let's say for example, Filipinos are really into, or the Filipino people are really family oriented compared to westernized countries. They are not really in that family oriented, so it differs, no. So those are the three factors that affect the development of social as. The fourth aspect of personal development is what we call physical aspect. Now, when we say physical aspect, this entails our physical outlook, the external elements that can be seen by other people, and of course that we can see also. And this includes how we take care of ourselves, how we beautify our faces, the kind of clothes that we wear, the confidence that we show to other people. Those are those things refer to physical aspect. But there are two things that really determine the physiological system of an individual. These are heredity and environment. Of course, as I've mentioned earlier, heredity is something that is not or cannot be altered. It is what it is. It is you. If you are physically impaired, if there is deformity in you physically, that's you. And it somehow that could influence or affect your personality in one way or another. No, because many people, if they are physically impaired, sometimes they have the difficulty of building their self-confidence because of their impartiality. But with the support of the family members, of the friends, or of the people of the community to that person, of course, the confidence might be developed as good or better. No? The second or the next factor that influences our physical aspect is, of course, the kind of environment. Now, these are the physiological conditions that is happening in the environment. Let's say, for example, there are catastrophes happen, and it so happened that you are a victim, or let's say there is a storm, a typhoon, or there's an earthquake, and you were greatly affected by this or by the environment of this catastrophe. So there might be changes in your physical aspect. There might be scars. You might be broken by your bones might be broken, etc., etc. No, and also environment determines the kind of behavior that we wanted to show. Of course, no. Okay. If the environment is stimulating not good behavior, so it will be perceived or it will be seen or people will view us differently, so those are the things that influences our physical aspect. Another is heredity and environment also influences the maturity of the individual. Yes, it's true, no? And environment somehow, our behaviors and our perspectives, our characteristics is sometimes dependent on the environment that we are in. So that is why we must not force ourselves to mature if we are not ready or if the environment is not stimulating that maturity. And also, heredity. If you are not capable of developing maturity because of your genes, then do not force yourself to develop it because it will not happen. Okay? And how can we develop our physical aspect? Of course, there are so many ways of developing our physical aspect. Of course, there must be proper grooming. We have to have a good outlook in life. Okay? So we have to develop that self-confidence by believing in ourselves that we are better. No? And we must also take good care of our nutrition, of our health. We must not rely much on food that is not healthy. We must always have a good diet. We have to have a good exercise. We have to have a proper grooming, a good grooming, no? So that's how we develop our physical aspect. Okay, so we move on to the moral aspect. So this aspect of personality has to do with a person's awareness of the difference between what is wrong and what is right. Okay, the construct of morality is not actually absolute. Because what I mean is, there are things that might be good to you, but it is not good to me. And there are things that might be not good to me, but it is accepted by you or it is good to you. So that's how morality works. It is based on the different context, in the different culture, in the different norms, or in the different morals of the people. Now, for example, or for instance, pornography is immoral in the Philippines. It is not accepted morally in the Philippines context. No, it is deemed to be violating the moral values of Filipinos. However, pornography is legal in some countries, especially in the Western countries. Let's say, for example, in the Americans or in America, pornography is something that is not deemed immoral to them, which in fact it is one of their businesses. No? So another is divorce. Divorce is also deemed in the Philippines to be immoral because once you are a divorced person, you have committed something that is immoral. However, in other countries also, let's say the Western countries or some parts of Asia, divorce is considered to be moral. They are accepting divorce because they believe that if the family is no longer happy with the situation of the parents or of the married couple, they have to be separated through divorce. But in the Philippines, it is not actually accepted. Okay? Likewise, in some countries, prostitution is morally good, but in the Philippines, it is not. Okay? So, the role of the family, of course, the church, the school, and the government actually controls or determines the moral aspect or the moral development of a person. Okay? So, in the Philippines, we really have a very big foundations towards morality. We are grounded on our beliefs, on our religiosity, no, on the context of good values. So that is why some of the things are not accepted in the Philippines. Now again, morality is not something that is absolute. It differs in different ways, in different culture, in different beliefs, in different way of living. No, again, morality in a simpler, in a simple point of view it is not something that is always true to everybody. It might be good to me, but not to you. It might be good to you, but not good to me. So that's how morality works. That's how we develop our moral aspect. No? And one way of developing our moral aspect is, of course, we have to have a ground for morality. What do we believe in life? What do we consider to be good, and what do we consider to be bad? Okay, so that's how we develop our moral aspect. And the last aspect of personal development is referred to spiritual aspect. Spirituality is important whether you are religious or not. In fact, spirituality and religion are actually two very different things, and you can be spiritual without being bit religious. But people are generally religious, but they differ in what they worship and how they worship. People believe, no, the general idea is most people believe that there is someone supreme, that there is someone greater and mightier than us. No, whoever that person may be, we do not know. No, for example, Roman Catholics believe that there is one God in three divine persons. No, that's their supreme being. The Muslims believe that Allah is their supreme being through their messenger called Muhammad. No? And the Buddhists believe that Gautama Buddha is their supreme being. Okay? So people are really religious in nature, but they differ in how they worship and what they worship. Okay? So there are those who worship by kneeling, by standing, by sitting. There are those who worship by singing. There are those who worship by playing guitars and etc. Okay? So we cannot actually determine if what kind of religion best suit us. Okay? So it differs again to the ground of cultures, to the beliefs and the people of a certain group of people in a certain place. The spiritual aspect is the consciousness of the higher values in life. Okay, so religion expresses spiritual value. So that's how we value the people, the things around us. No, we are becoming more spiritual. How do we develop our spiritual aspect? Of course, through meditation. Okay, through contemplating, through reflecting, no, okay, through praying, of course. So those are the things, or those are ways in how we actually develop our spirituality or a spiritual aspect. Okay. And we are now done with the different aspects of personal development. Again, there are six aspects of personal development: no, physical aspect, moral, spiritual, social, emotional, and spiritual aspect. No, so make it sure that you really understand these areas or these aspects of personal development, and that you make use each of that aspect well, so that your development will be holistic. And one way of keeping track of your development is the use of this power triad. No, the power triad is composed, of course, of three most important things: the thoughts, the emotions, of course, the behavior. So the power triad is like a cycle that really performs, or that we unconsciously doing. No, so it always begins with a thought. It goes through our emotions, and it concludes to the behavior, and then goes back to thoughts again. I'll give an example. For example, the thought is a positive thought. Let's say, for example, you have seen a beautiful dog, a cute dog, okay? And because you have seen a beautiful dog, our emotions, what do we feel? Of course, we feel happy, we feel excited, we feel delighted, we feel energetic because we have seen a dog. Okay? And after that feeling, the behavior, of course, comes in. How do we react to that emotion? Okay? So, because we feel delighted of the thought of seeing a beautiful dog, our behavior will be we would like to touch the dog, we would like to carry the dog, we would like to kiss the dog. Okay, so that's how our thoughts influence our behavior. Okay, another example of a good thought is, for instance, the thought is you have passed an entrance exam of your most liked course. So the thought is you successfully passed the exam. Your emotions, what you will feel is, of course, you will feel proud of your achievement. You will feel happy of the result, and your behavior is, of course, you will be motivated to perform and to do well on that course because you have passed. Okay, so that's how powerful our thoughts are. No, it influences our behavior. Another is, let's have, for example, on a negative thought. Let's say the negative thought is there is a barking dog. The thought is there is a barking dog. There is that scary big barking dog. No, so your emotions, you'll be frightened. Of course, you'll be scared. You'll be horrified. You'll be terrified with the dog because it might bit you or bite you. Okay, so the behavior, of course, your behavior, because there is a barking dog, you will run. No, of course, you will not get near to the dog because it is very scary and that is very bad. No, okay, so that's how it works. Another example is a negative thought. Let's say you are heartbroken because your girlfriend or boyfriend um, chose to leave you. No, you are separated. So that's the thought. That's very painful. Of course, what you will be feeling is you're disappointed. There are regrets. There is pain. There is heartache. There is etc. Okay, so your behavior will be influenced by the thought that you have in your mind. Okay, so your behavior might be you will not have a good rest. No, you will be drinking alcohol. You will not eat properly, or worst is you will lacerate yourself. Okay, so that's how powerful our thoughts are. So, what is the implication of this power triad? Why do we have to keep in mind the thoughts that we have? No, are we really can we really control our thoughts? Can we really control our emotions? Actually, yes, because it is ourselves that is stimulating the thought. If there is a negative thought, of course, you have to alter that thought. Or if there is a negative thought, you must have to have a good self responsibility of your behavior so that at the end of that experience, you will not be doomed or you will not be put into compromise. Okay, you will not be compromised, or the experience will not be compromised. Okay, so always bear in mind that what we think is reflected on the behavior at the end part. Okay, so this power triad can really be helpful in our personal development. Once we know the kind of thoughts, or once we know how to behave, or I mean, once we know how to cope up with the thoughts that is in our mind, then one way or another, it might be, yes, it might be hurtful or hurting to us, but of course, as long as that you know what you are doing, you know, or you have the responsibility of your or of the consequences of your actions, then that is good. Okay, so bear in mind that whatever we put in our mind, of course, it will have an effect to our actions or behaviors. Okay. Okay, so we are done with the session number 2 entitled the aspects of development under the first unit, the self-development. And if you have questions and clarifications with regards to the session, if something is not understood well, please do not hesitate to address it in our personal group chat, okay? And always believe that you are always good, you are always loved, that you matter to everyone. Keep safe and keep healthy, keep your mind healthy, and keep the faith. I know these too shall pass. Goodbye and God bless.